Om Shuklam Bharadaram Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyayet Sarva Vignopashantaye Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murtibheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sah Viryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay, so we are doing the sixth chapter. Look at that today. The sixth chapter is called as Dhyana Yoga. So here primarily Sri Krishna talks to Arjuna about dhyana or meditation. Meditation as we practice it. Not in too much detail, but he gives enough. In the previous chapter, he ended the chapter by introducing the idea of meditation. So here he elaborates upon it. So now in meditation, we know there are three things that are important to know. Just give you a broad overview. So there are three elements to meditation. One is the called it dhyata, dhyanam and dhyaya. Dhyata is the one who meditates. So there is a meditator, which is essentially me, the individual. And then there is dhyayam, dhyaya vastu, something to be meditated upon. You don't just meditate, you meditate upon something. We meditate upon something. That's why they use the term premeditated, even when you kill somebody, it's called premeditated murder. That means you have dwelled upon it, you have thought about it, you have planned it, and then you go ahead and so commit it. That is, so meditation means it is always dwelling upon something. There's a object of meditation. That is called as dhyayam, dhyaya vastu. And then there is dhyanam itself, the process. There is a particular process involved. We have to do something. We have to do something physically. We have to do something mentally. So these are the three things. All these three are not discussed in this particular chapter, but in Gita they are all discussed. The dhyayam. So dhyaya vastu, there is an object of meditation. The jiva is the individual. So the jiva is talked about. The individual was talked about all along. So from the standpoint of me as the individual, and then from the standpoint of Atma also. And then the dhyayam is the object of meditation. Now, object of meditation here is so Bhagavan, the Lord, because we are looking at meditation as a spiritual practice, as a spiritual discipline. It's not just meditation the way they talk about now. There are a lot of terms that are used currently whose meaning has been, so made very, very generalized. So like yoga. So yoga means generally when they refer to yoga, they talk about the physical yoga, the hatha yoga, asanas, which is only one element of Ashtanga yoga, really speaking. Similarly with Dhyanam also. So when they talk about meditation, they talk about meditation as a simple the practice of meditation. In fact, there is no object of meditation as such. When you look at it, the way meditation is often understood, there is the meditator is there, and there is some kind of a process, and a process of usually some kind of visualizing process, or there is some kind of chanting involved. But then the results are often talked about in terms of some physiological benefits. But there it is not a spiritual practice. It's like exercise. So it is a different kind of a exercise on a mental level, or there is an exercise on a physical level. So when we talk about dhyana, that is not how we see dhyana. We see dhyanam as a spiritual practice, which, like any other spiritual practice, helps me connect with the Lord. Yoga is connecting with the Lord, and so here dhyanam also as a particular element of the general yoga shastra, or dhyanam as a spiritual practice is something that helps me connect with Bhagavan. Here, the object of meditation is Bhagavan. So there's a definition for dhyanam, which is so saguna brahma vishaya manasa vyapara. That is dhyana. So it is a vyapara is an activity. Manasa vyapara is a mental activity. So saguna brahma vishaya. So for any mental activity, there is an object of the activity, the focus. It's not a random activity, simply sitting and free associating. You just think, and if I sit down and just think at randomly, that's called free association. This is not a random thinking, it is the focused thinking. So there is a Vishaya, there is an object of thinking here involved. And what is that? It is Saguna Brahma Vishaya. So the Vishaya is Sagunam Brahma. Sagunam Brahma is, so in fact, Ishvara. So the Lord manifest. So in any given form is called as Sagunam. So along with some guna, form is a guna, for example. So any manifest, Bhagavan manifest is sagunam. Bhagavan essential is nirguna. Okay. So here, there is an object of meditation. So that is which is the Lord. So the jiva, the individual is talked about meditate. I have to understand exactly who is it that is meditating. Somebody is meditating. An individual is doing the meditation. There is an object of Bhagavan is the object of meditation, and then there is a process. There is a mental process in which I have to do certain things, and that is the practice of meditation. So coming to this particular chapter, so Sri Krishna here begins by just kind of recapitulating what he has been talking about the yogi and the sannyasi. Okay, so yogi essentially is the karma yogi. So the one who does karma actions with a certain attitude is a karma yogi. So sannyasi we have seen also. Sannyasi, either there is a lifestyle sannyasi, the one who follows a certain it's a state where you follow certain niyamas, certain vidhis are there, certain rules and regulations are there. You live that kind of a life, or there is sannyasi in terms of so knowledge. So here he says, let us see the first verse. Anashrita karma phalam karyam karma karoti yaha sasannyasi cha yogi cha na niragnirna chakriyaha. So anashritaha karma phalam karyam karma karoti yaha. Okay. So here karma phalam anashritya. Okay. Karma, so I can do action. Karma karoti. The one who yaha karma karoti. So the one who goes about performing the actions, does whatever he or she has to do with a certain kind of an attitude. So normally we go about doing actions. So being too preoccupied with the with the karma phala trishna, so too much concern about the end result. Obviously, we always do an action for some purpose. So here one is not too concerned about the end result. That doesn't mean that the action is purposeless. Okay, there is a purpose in the action, otherwise I won't do any action. There's always a purpose. It's not without a purpose, but then the concern is in doing the action. It is not so much in terms of, so the focus is not too much on the result. Sometimes the focus too much on the result, I become inefficient in performing the action. So he says karma phalam anashritaha. So the one whose attention is not too diverted or too occupied with the result of the action. He says, Karyam karma karoti. He does karyam. What is karyam karma? So karyam is something to be done, kartavyam. So I do things that have to be done. So it's a duty bound. It's a duty bound living. There are certain things I have to do. There are certain things I have to do. There are certain things I want to do. So they don't always coincide. I may want to do so many things sometimes at the cost of things that I have to do. So here, my primary importance is in terms of things that have to be done. Kartavyam, maya kartavyam iti buddhya. See, kamya viparitam. We have seen there are different types of karma. You know, there is nitya naimittika karmas. So things that have to do every day, I have to do on certain occasion. Then there is kamya karma. Kamya karmas are actions I do, purely based on desires. And then there is the actions which I should not be doing, etc. So when I look at all these different types of action, the primarily I live by not by action, simply by my desire. It's not a desire based living, it's a duty bound living, doing things that have to be living a responsible life. Such a person, he says, sa sannyasi cha yogi cha. Such a person is a sannyasi and is a yogi. Obviously, he's a sannyasi because he has a certain attitude. So and he is a yogi. Both, earlier on, Arjuna kept asking this question, trying to differentiate between a sannyasi and a yogi. So when he says anashrita karma phalam, that is a karma yoga attitude. And then the sannyasi also is not that the sannyasi doesn't do anything. He also does, but he does what has to be done. He says, na niragnihi na cha akriyaha. Not a person, not a person who simply doesn't do anything, who's a niragni. Niragni is a lifestyle sannyasi. It's called as a niragni. Okay, so the one who takes to the order of sannyasa and then he is absolved from doing karmas. Okay, karmas, when we talk about rituals. Okay. So rituals, whatever applies to ritual, applies to other karmas also, really speaking. So everybody, there is a nitya karma. We are mandated to do certain rituals, like the samskaras. So we all obliged to do certain samskaras, and then the one who is absolved, a certain person is absolved from doing samskaras. So he is the sannyasi. So when a person takes sannyasa, the nitya karma, etc., his that he doesn't have to do the ritual because he is totally dedicating his life to the study and pursuit of the scripture. Okay, so he finishes his all his karmas, he finishes his antima kriya, and then he takes to the order of sannyasa. So he's called as a niragni. Okay, he doesn't do any agni karyams. So not such a person, he says, really speaking. So he says the real sannyasi and the yogi is a person who lives by a certain attitude. That doesn't mean that a sannyasi doesn't have that attitude. A sannyasi, lifestyle sannyasi, is also supposed to have that attitude, but not necessarily supposed to have the same attitude of a yogi, and that is the attitude of a sannyasi. So it's not that niragnihi, being niragnihi, or simply sitting and doing nothing is not what sannyasa is about. Having said that, introduced that, then there are certain things he talks about in the context of dhyana. And dhyana is a practice, it's a sadhana. It's one of the spiritual practices. So he before getting into dhyanam itself, he talks of two types of sadhana. So this is a bahiranga sadhana and antaranga sadhana. Bahiranga means externally. I have to do certain. It's a life of discipline. So living a life of discipline. Yoga also talks about it in terms of yama and niyama first. So that's the first thing. So you can't get into dhyanam, etc., without having some basic disciplined life. So which he mentions in 16 and 17. We look at that. Natyat nash natyashnatastu yogosti. You got that? 16. Go to 16, chapter 6. Chapter 6, 16, 1, 6. Got it? नात्यश्नतस्तु योगोऽस्ति न चैकान्तमनश्नतः न चाति स्वप्नशीलस्य जागृतो नैव चार्जुन न ati ashnataha. So not for the one who, ashnan is to eat. So not for the one who eats too much. Is yoga. It's not yoga. So a yogi. So neither eating too much nor not eating at all. Anashnatami, the one who doesn't eat. Either way. Either way. So in essentially it talks about moderation. You're talking about in everything. As long as you stick to moderation, you need not get caught up in the other details. So whatever you do, he's saying either yoga for a yogi's life is not about excessive eating or not eating. Not only that, he said there's a recommendation for eating also. No, diet. We heard about diet on Thursday, but then here there is also a rule for eating, which is so half of the stomach has to be filled with food. Half is filled with food, then one quarter is filled with water, and leave the other quarter with air. So that the food gets moved around and digested. When we eat, generally it comes up to the sphincter or the esophagus. But then there is no movement for the water. So that's the general rule: half with food, then quarter with water, and so quarter with air. Anyway, nacha ati swapnashilasya jagrataha naiva. So not for the one who excessively sleeps too much or doesn't sleep enough. Okay. So whether it is eating or it is sleeping, a yogi lives a life of moderation in reference to both. Okay. If you do excess, what happens? The one who indulges excessively is called as bhogi. So the one who lives in moderation is a yogi. The one who lives in excessive living is a bhogi. And if you live a life of a bhogi, you become a rogi. Rogi is the you become sick. That's all. Sick person. Yuktahara viharasya. Next verse. Yuktacheshtasya karmasu. Yuktasvapnavabodhasya. Yogo bhavati dukkhaha. So yuktaha here is so controlled, or one who is measured, one who does in moderation everything. So ahara vihara. So everything, whether it is eating, whether it is sleeping, whether it is moving around. Cheshtaha. Cheshta is to all kinds of activity. Karmasu chesh. So activities with reference to all the all the things that I do going around here and there. Not running around too much, at the same time not just simply being a couch potato. It says yukta swapna avabodhasya, again with reference to sleep, etc. He says yogaha bhavati. There is a life of yoga which is dukkhaha. Dukkhaha means the one which relieves me from all the problems that arise from living a life of excess. So, having this said in general, in terms of external lifestyle, then he goes to this. So, meditation itself. So, meditation itself is you go through steps. Okay. So starting with posture, he begins. So here we'll see 11. So come to verse 11. Shuchau deshe paristhapya Sthiramasanamaatmanah Natyuchritam Nati Nicham Chailajina Chailajina Kushottaram. So, Shuchau Deshe Pratisthapya Sthiram Asanam Atmanaha. So, where to meditate? This is what people ask all kinds of questions. So, where to do the meditation? Shuchau Deshe. So in a place which is clean, so not necessarily on the beach. So generally, when you see all this advertising for meditation camps, so all kinds of yoga things and all that, they will always show this person meditating either on top of a stone or on the beach or in front of a sunrise. All that is just for vacation. So vacation is not for meditation. Means a place has to be quiet and clean, basically. So Shuchau Deshe is a place which is you can't meditate in a mess. So because if there's a clutter outside, there is a clutter inside. In the mind to be clean, the environment has to also be clean. So in a clean environment, he says, Thiramasanam, an asanam, and a seat which is sthiram, which is firm, which is unmoving. Not I can't meditate on a rotating chair. So not that kind of a chair you can't. While with that you're sitting on when you work in front of the computer, that kind of chair doesn't work. Na ati uchritam, na ati nicham, not too tall, not on a bar stool. Can't meditate on a. I don't know why this is a new this Florida. When you move to Florida, one of the things everybody ends up buying is this tall stools. Which with the bar stools. So first you have to figure out there are two types. There is a bar stool and there is a counter stool. And then all these things we never knew in the Northeast. But anyway, you can't sit on a bar stool and meditate because you will center of gravity is high. You will feel you're going to fall. Nor should it be Ati Nicham. What is Ati Nicham, really speaking? Nicham is ground. We do meditation on the ground, sitting down. But one that it's not that the lower and lower you go, the better it is. The cave. People do this. They create a whole cave. You know. So as if you go inside Guha. So they talk about Guha, no? So Hridaya Guha, Buddhi Guha, and all. So literally they create a Guha. So as if by going inside a cave, you're going to you're going to get some kind of a, in fact, you get sensory deprivation. You can go crazy inside a cave and claustrophobic. But people do that. They think you have to meditate inside a cave or they will make a hole in the ground. And it's all exotic thinking. So none of this is necessary. So thus, na ati nicham chailajina kushottaram. So in earlier days, they used to make a seat, an asanam of, so chaila is the cloth. So what they would do is they would put because they do it outside. So suppose you're meditating outside, we put a cloth on the ground because the ground is damp, and then they would put a skin, some kind of an animal skin, generally deer. Not kill an animal and do it, but some animal which had died. Again, as a waterproofing and a, so to keep out the damp and the cold, and then cover that with the grass, kusha grass. So this is how they used to make the asana. But anyway, so have a comfortable asanam. Then you sit on that. You sit still. And how to sit, he tells. So in 13, samam kaya shiro grivam dharayanna chalam stiraha samprekshya nasikagram dishaschanavalokayan. Then I sit down How do I sit down? So generally, so the sitting posture is this particular, so the lotus posture or the half. So where like we sit normally. So we sit because that's the posture which is most comfortable to sit still for a long period of time. So thus he says with this posture, samam kaya shiro grivam. So having all these in a sama is the one line in a single line. It says kayaha is body, shiram is the head, and grivam is the neck. So the body, head, and the neck is in one line. It's called samaha. In dance posture, the posture when you stand straight is called as what? Samaha. It's a posture. It's a dance posture. Anyway, so the idea is straight. It is straight, one single vertical line. Uh, wait a Dharayan achalam sthiraha. So keeping the body achalam. So steady, firm, without keeping moving around the head. He says, Samprekshya nasikagram swam. Closing the eyes and then keep the eyes as if it is again, as if it is towards the bridge of the nose. So not in that direction. That's the idea. It's not that focus your people think you have to focus your eyes on the bridge of the nose. If you try to do that, you get a headache. Really, you get a headache. You're not supposed to do that. That's not what you're supposed to do. Simply, the idea is your eyeballs are not going in all directions. Okay, and it is facing the front. Okay, as though towards the as though towards the bridge, but not you don't become this kind of squint. You don't create a squint. If you create a squint, then you'll get a headache. So he says, Nasikagram swam dishasya anavalokayan, not going in different dishas. Okay. So the eyeballs are not moving around, not moving. In fact, all that tires the eyes. I just close the eyes and keep it directed forwards. That is the most, if you know anatomy, this is very straightforward. So there are muscles. There are the recti, the lateral, medial, of all four directions, there are muscles. Okay. So obviously, when I move the eyeballs in any directions, I'm contracting the muscle in that particular direction. If I'm keeping it straight forward without moving around, I'm not straining the eyes because the muscles are in the optimal position. There's a simple anatomy here. Okay. So nothing magical, but so this is the in terms of sitting and the closing the eyes, keeping the eyes in a particular position. Then he says number 12, Tatraikagram manah kritva. I went back, okay, to 12. Huh? Got it? Yata chittendriya kriyaha upavishyasane yunjyat yogamatma vishuddhaye. Okay. So here directly he goes to the mind, what to do with the mind. So really speaking, in dhyana generally, so when we do, once you occupy, may you you get your posture. I close my eyes, then I have to visualize. I do a prayer generally. So because it is important who is meditating, right? Because the meditator, dhyata is important. Now, who is meditating in the sense who am I? Who am I, the person who is meditating? I am the individual, okay, but I am the individual with a persona. With a persona, they call it the sub personality. So we all supposed to have varieties of sub. We have like 20 sub personalities, they say, on an average. So in the sense, I'm different people with different people, the different situations, etc. So we put forth a personality depending on what's going on. So naturally, So the one who's meditating, is it the father who's meditating, or the son who's meditating, or the husband who's meditating? In the sense, so the person, when I sit down to meditate, I should have a particular frame of mind, okay, which is important. So suppose I have an angry frame of mind, suppose I just had a big argument with somebody, and then I say, I walk away and I bang the door and I go, I ended up in the puja room, suppose. I ended up in the puja room, and then I sit down and then I close my eyes. I'm going to meditate, get away from the whole world, and I sit down, and my mind is still angry. Now with that kind of a mind, if I sit down to meditate, it's not conducive for meditation. So who should be the one to meditate? Really speaking, the person who's sitting down to meditate has to be the bhakta, really speaking. If at all, if at all we want to categorize this person, it has to be the bhakta. So I have to invoke that person in me, right? So I have to invoke that, you orient yourself depending on the situation. So here I am sitting in front of an altar, or I'm sitting thinking of the Lord, meditating upon the Lord. So naturally, the one who's meditating has to be the bhakta. Okay. And how do I invoke that? I invoke that in the form of a prayer. Simple, the simplest way to do. So when I sit down, the first thing I do is I visualize the Lord and I say a prayer. And the purpose of that is to create the right frame of mind so that I'm not distracted by other things. So that is one thing we do, the first thing you do. And then to aid a certain tranquility, to calm the mind down, so I withdraw the mind. In the previous chapter, he mentioned that. So, Bahyan Sparshan Bahikritva. So he says all the things that are there outside. Normally, our mind, no, I have to come to the mind. The mind is the next step in the meditation. But then the mind is usually directed outwards. And the way it's directed outwards is through the sense organs. So all my sense organs are also directed outwards, and they are so perception. They are always open to perception. So I have when I withdraw myself from the external world, the idea is that I do not pay attention to the perceptions, okay, that are happening outside. So that is what is meant by withdrawal. So from a sensory perception standpoint, I do not let the external world distract me, which is why we close the eyes to begin with. So to close the eye, I can also meditate with open eyes. You have open-eyed meditation, but then so initially it's difficult, more difficult to do. So first I close my eyes. Similarly, I I can't shut down my ears, but I can. So I can. We will practice that. I can learn to shut out the what I hear. So thus, having done all that, then pranayama is one way which helps me slow the mind down. The mind is used to thinking. That is the function of the mind. So it's always thoughts are going on, and one way to bring about a relative tranquility is by the process of pranayama or simple breathing, not complicated pranayama, but simple observing one's breathing, called as prana vikshanam. So where you don't control the rate, etc., just normal breathing, because the breathing is associated with thinking. There's a close association between the the respiration and the thought process. That's why when a person is anxious, when I'm anxious, my breathing becomes rapid and shallow. When I'm relaxed, my breathing is so slower and deeper. So there is this close connection. So in order to slow down, so calm down my mind, I can do it by my breathing. Pay attention to the breathing. So when the breathing becomes slow and deep, then the mind also tends to become quieter. It's a simple exercise to get some quietude in the mind. So I can do that. I can do that. And then having gained a certain quietude, then I pay my attention to the mind, in the sense to the thought process. So these are the various steps of meditation. So here, for the mind, he says, Ekagram manakritva. We read that, right? No, we didn't read that. Did we read that? No. Tatraikagram manakritva yatachittendriya kriyaha upavishyasane yunjyat yogamatma vishuddhaye. So, yata chittendriya kriyaha. So, the one who has a certain control over the, so indriyas, the sense organs, the activity I gain the control, the meditation process through this and the sense organs, etc. He says ekagram manakritva. So make the mind ekagram, single pointed. So towards what? Towards the object of meditation. Okay. So here we have an object of meditation which is Bhagavan. Now, so how upavishya asane yunjat yogam atma vishuddhaye. So you maintain this position, this asanam, by focusing your attention on ekagram manaha, on the object of meditation. Now, how do you do this? Can be done visually. How do I focus attention on the object of meditation? So here is in a twofold way. Either we have there is murti, there is a form. So we can visualize I can either visualize the form, or I do it in terms of a mantra. Okay. So the symbols, what is a form? There is a form symbol and there is a sound symbol. Both represent the Lord. So I can have form symbols that represent Bhagavan, or I can have a sound symbol that represents Bhagavan. So form symbol is so visualizing a form. For example, a murti. So murti of any Bhagavan, a lingam, or a saligramam, or a Krishna form, or any particular Devata form I visualize. That is one type of a murti. Or there is another sound murti. So in terms of sound, okay, sound like Om or a mantra. That is where the mantra comes in. So it's called mantra japadhyanam. So when I say recitation of mantra, it is repeatedly recited, which becomes japa. And then when I focus my attention on the mantra, that becomes another type of dhyanam. It's called japa dhyanam. I cannot do both at the same time. When I visualize a form, I'm visualizing a form. When I'm reciting a mantra, then my attention is on the sound, okay, on the mantra. So both cannot be done at the same time. Either one has to be, either one can be done, but you can't do both at the same time. So that is how I make the mind single pointed. And then what do you mean by single? What is the opposite of single pointed? So distractible. Okay, distract. When the mind is not single pointed, then it is pointed in many directions. In other words, it is distracted all over the place. Okay. And I do this Atma Vishuddhaye. Says it's an important thing to understand here. So for the purification of the so here is you have to keep in mind this for a purification of the mind. Okay, for antakarana shuddhi. Dhyanam is talking about. Okay. Now, really speaking, for antakarana shuddhi, what is antakarana shuddhi? Is karma your attitude. I gain purification of the mind by attitude, right? By living a life of dharma, by values, by attitudes, my mind gets purified. That is what we have learned, correct? Here, by dhyanam, what does dhyanam do? Dhyanam really doesn't give antakarana shuddhi. Meditation give antakarana naischalyam. Naischalyam is a quietude of the mind. So, living a life of values, proper values, life of dharma makes my mind pure. Okay, it gives shuddhi. Then antakaranam, naischalyam, tranquility comes from this particular process of meditation helps in tranquility. Here, shuddhi that is talked about. So is more in terms of what is called as the unconscious. Okay. So because in meditation, what happens? A lot of thoughts come in, unconscious. Our unconscious gets an opportunity to manifest itself. And that is a lot of this vikshepa, what I call as vikshepas, So things which are disturbing or which cause distress in me. So all the past comes, or etc. So those kinds of things which cannot be dealt with normally in terms of my thinking and my attitude and my understanding, those things come out in meditation. And so in order to overcome all of that, so he's talking about shuddhi from that standpoint. Okay? So when we talk of shuddhi connected to dhyanam, it's a different type of a shuddhi, specifically referring to the unconscious processes. But when you talk of antakarana shuddhi, it is just in terms of living a life of values. Okay. So here, okay. So he says, therefore he says, Atma Vishuddhaye. Otherwise, Dhyanam gives Naischalyam. It gives a quietude of the mind. There is a whole, there is a, Dhyanam. There is a traditional way in which this is understood. And then there is a neo Vedanta, The Neo Vedanta is so Vedanta as which is been talked about and propagated in the last 150 years, by many of the teachers who became very pop. There's a pop version, There is a pop Vedanta and then there's a traditional Vedanta. Okay. So the traditional Vedanta, how we understand is so Karma Yoga, Antakarana Shuddhi is by Karma Yoga by having certain attitudes. Antakaran Naischalyam, or the quietude, tranquility of the mind, is by dhyanam or by a process of meditation. And Atma Jnanam, self knowledge, occurs by pramana vichara, by a process of inquiry, study, learning, understanding, and then one gains this Atma Jnanam. And the knowledge of that becomes internalized, that process is called as Nididhyasanam, which can be during meditation also when it is accompanied by Shravanam and Mananam. So Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam. There Nididhyasanam is during the Dhyanam process, there is Nididhyasanam because there is knowledge in the mind. It's a mind that has come to cognitively understand certain things. Okay. As opposed to a mind that doesn't know what is the Atma and so on. What happens in Neo Vedanta? So Neo Vedanta there is and the Shuddhi that is talked about here in Dhyanam is with reference to the unconscious. This is how traditionally we understand Dhyanam. Neo Vedanta talks about, so they say Vedanta is a theory. So theory, and like science, they try to make it look scientific. So Vedanta is theory, meditation is practice. Meditation is practice. So first you learn the theory, then you sit down and practice, and afterwards, what happens with the practice? Then you get an experience, and Atma Jnanam is the experience. Okay. So this is how it has been presented and continues to be presented like this in varieties of ways. So which is where, so in the meditation process itself is very simple, but then it has to be packaged and repackaged naturally, like yoga, asanas. Asanas are packaged and repackaged. So the meditation also is packaged and repackaged. How can you do that? So they make some variations in terms of pranayama, how to do breathing, how to do mantras, how to these different kinds of things, and therefore you have these varieties of varieties of repackaged and packaged meditation, usually marketed and sold for a lot of money. A lot of money also. Yes, somebody was asking me. I was going around for talks just a couple of days back. So they were talking about this, about thousands of dollars spending, somebody who spent a lot of money to go and learn about meditation. Whenever anybody tries to sell meditation in stages, so levels, so beginners level, then advanced, little bit advanced level, then more advanced level, then teachers level, then whatever. Whenever there are levels, you have to understand it's all about making money, really speaking. Because once you go to level 1, you are not going to end there. Okay, you have to go to the next level. You will want to go to the in order to be successful. So in the first, how do you know you are successful in the first grade? How do you know? We all go to school. You go to the first grade. So what is the proof that you made it in the first grade? Not only pass, that you are pass means what? What does pass means? You are eligible to go to the second grade, correct? So you're eligible to go to the second grade. Then how do you know you made it through the second grade? Because you're eligible to go to the third grade. Okay. So how do you know you made through the first stage of meditation? Because now so in order to be sure that I made it through the first stage, you have to go to the second stage. Okay. You have to go to the second stage. And here there are no exams. There is no test. There are no exam. There is no way to verify. The only thing is you pay up. That's all. You pay up and go to the second stage. Then you pay up and go to the third stage. The whole thing is a joke, really speaking. I'm sorry. It's a joke which we all fall for. So somebody makes the money. Anyway, yeah, in traditional way, Antakarana Shuddhi, purification of the mind. We'll discuss after the class. So is by Antakarana Shuddhi is by Karma Yoga, by living a life of values, life of dharma, proper attitudes. That is what purifies the mind. Then Dhyanam gives Antakarana Naischalyam. Naischalyam is quietude, a tranquility on a relative level. And then knowledge, Atma Jnanam comes from Shravanam Manana. Shravanam Manana, which is what is, in other words, Vichara. So by a process of inquiry and learning. And then whatever clarity I get, cognitive understanding, that I internalize with respect to myself, that is called as Nididhyasana. Okay. Okay. That is the traditional way in which we understand this. So continuing with Dhyanam now. No, sorry. So, yeah, 14. प्रशान्तात्मा विगतभीः ब्रह्मचारिवृत्ते स्थितः मनः संयम्य मच्चित्तः युक्त आसीत मत्परः. So prashant atma vigatavīhi brahmachari vritte sthitaha. So here it talks about a person who is well set in the spiritual practice and pursuit. He said he is prashant atma. So vigata bhihi. So one from whom bhihi, all the fear has gone away. Okay. So one who is devoid of fear, who is established in his own self. There's Atma, which is of the nature of Shanti. Okay. So here it is Shant Atma in the sense Atma, Shanti is the Swarupa of Atma. Shanti is not the attribute of Atma. The self, the nature of the self is so Shanta Swarupam, Anantam, Anandam, Shantam, etc. These are the different words used to describe the nature of the self. The nature of the self means this is the Swarupam, essential nature of oneself. It's not the quality of the self. There is not a self with this particular quality. Quality is changing. Okay. Quality always changeable. Qualities are changeable. Essential is non-changing. We have seen this, right? The essential is that which is changeless. Qualities are that which change. So Shanti is his Prashant Atma. Shanti, is it a quality of Atma or is it the essential nature of Atma? Really speaking, it is the essential nature of Atma. So itself it is there. Then what about Ashanti then? So Ashanti, if it is the nature of Atma, then Atma itself becomes Shanta and Ashanta. But here Atma is Shanta Swarupam. Then Ashanti is superimposed on the self. Ashanti is something, agitation is a superimposition on the self. Any qualities like that. A quality is a superimposed, like the ornament, like the ornament, like the bangle is superimposed on the gold. Okay, gold is the essential, the non-changing, and then that which is changeable is the superimposition, is the quality. So in that way, he says, if I look at the nature of Atma, Atma is Shanta Swarupa. It is not Ashanti, but then Ashanti is superimposed on the self. Here he is with himself during meditation. So he is with himself in the form of Shanti. That's how you get the Shanti, Swarupa Shanti. Not a state of experience. Therefore, it's not a state of experience from an Atma standpoint. And in such a state, then there is no fear. There is no fear because fear is also centered on the mind, not on the self. Brahmachari vritte sthitaha is also a person talking about the yogi. So he's one who is also living a life of, so whatever vratas, so whatever his stage of life requires him to do, he's living that particular life. It's a life of discipline and moderation. Manas samyamya machittaha. So with his mind, his mind is machittaha. So the object of meditation here is the Bhagwan. So the mind is turned towards the Lord, is attentive to the Lord, is focused on the Lord. Yuktaha asita matparaha. Mat paraha. So I am the paraha. I am the ultimate end. So the Lord is the ultimate end. This is the whole meditation is a focus upon the Bhagavan. Either the Lord as the cause of everything, Ishvara, or in terms of Swarupam. Swarupam, Brahman. So which becomes, so that is what becomes Nididhyasana. Okay. Which once I recognize the Lord, then either I'm meditating upon the Lord as so the cause of everything, or Lord in its essential Swarupam. Okay. So going uh, further, talking further about meditation. So we'll see some of these verses. We'll see 24 onwards. Okay. So 24 onwards. Dhyanam Sankalpa Prabhavan Kaman त्यक्त्वा सर्वान् शेषतः मनसैवेन्द्रियग्रामम् विनियम्य समन्ततः. Sankalpa Prabhavan Kaman Tyak. In Dhyanam, what happens? The mind, the mind tends to wander because that's what it's supposed to do. One need not feel discouraged if the mind is getting distracted. That's the big complaint people have. The question. When I sit down to meditate, then my mind wanders. So that's presented as a big issue. Really, that's what the mind is supposed to do. Okay, the mind is supposed to wander. That is its function. Okay. Then what is dhyana? Dhyanam itself is, so when the mind wanders, you bring it back to the focus. That is meditation. Okay. That is the process of meditation. As the mind keeps wandering, you keep bringing it back, he says. So, says, Sankalpa Prabhavan Kaman Tyakta Sarvan Kaman. So, giving up, see, Sankalpas, here it talks about attitude towards kamas. Mind gets distracted by desires. So I want to do this, I want to do this, etc. So here he's saying, dealing with that, all sankalpa is a thinking. All sankalpas don't become so kamas, don't get executed as actions, but some of them do. Okay, some of them do. So here dealing with, he says, sankalpa prabhavan kaman. So the desires that are born of sankalpa, I deal with it not at the not once it is manifested into a strong desire, but right at the level of sankalpa itself. So just at the level of sangat sanjayate kamaha. You simply get a thought. A thought is not a desire, but then when dwelt upon it over and over again, then it becomes a desire. See, first time you see a commercial, so it's just you're fascinated by it. But if you keep seeing it repeatedly, that is when they get you. That's the whole point of a commercial. It's just repeatedly showing you the same thing. It's not just first. That's why this telephone fellows also, they keep calling. They keep calling over and over and over and over again, even though you told them no, 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 because they say one time they will break you down. They know that. They know that. So similarly, it says, so at the level of Sanka, don't dwell upon it. Means consciously one can make an effort to not keep dwelling upon something. He says. So dealing with it at that level, manasa eva indriya gramam vinayamya. So it's talking about mastering the mind. So we talk of control of the mind, controlling desires, etc. Control here. So mind also, one cannot be made an adversary to oneself. Desires are also in my mind, and I am managing also in my mind. So here the question is, what kind of a relationship I have within myself, okay, in order to control myself. Is it a relationship that is adversarial, or is it a relationship that is facilitatory? If I make my mind an adversary, then I'm just fighting with my mind, which only leads to frustration and anger at myself, to begin with. But here, the mastery, when we talk about here, the mastery is different. It's like a master musician or a master cook. So when the musician is learning music, you make an effort. You have to make a lot of effort. You have to think about it. You have to practice it and so on. But once you gain, the more mastery you get, in fact, do you put in more effort or less effort? Huh? No, no. You put more effort before you become a master. But the master musician, who makes more effort, the student or the teacher? Really speaking, the student. The student is the one who's practicing. Once you get to a point where you have mastered a subject, then really speaking, it comes to you. It comes to you easily. Okay? It comes to you easily. A professional orator can talk without prompting, correct? So the one who's not so good needs a prompter. The one who's good expresses himself. The better you get at something, the less effort you have to make, really speaking. So the one who has mastered his mind is the one who makes the least amount of effort to manage his mind, really speaking. Such a person is a master. So when we talk of mastering one's mind, well, it's not in terms of somebody who has conquered the mind, suppressed it and repressed, put it under his foot, and the mind is struggling to break free. It's not that kind of a thing. It is someone who, relatively less effort, is able to manage their own psyche. Okay, so okay, so this is the kind of a mind, he says, manasa eva, with viveka discrimination. With such a mind, I mastered myself. Shanai Shanairuparamed Buddhya Dhriti Grihitaya Atmasamstam Manaf Kritva Na Kinchidapi Chintayet. So Shanai Shanaihi Uparamed buddhya driti grihitaya. You know, Shanai Shanai. So the mind gets distracted. He's telling what to do when the mind gets distracted. It is one of the problems of meditation. So Shanai, again and again, because this happens again and again. It's not a one-time thing. Again and again, you bring it back. You bring it back with what? He says, Dhriti grihitaya buddhya. So, by dhairyena, dhairyena, patiently. So, by patient. So, patiently bring the mind without getting frustrated, without getting angry, without getting disappointed, without fighting with the mind. Patiently, every time it gets distracted, I bring it back. Then I get distracted, I bring it back. That is dhyana. One has to keep doing. That is the practice, in fact. Atma samstam manah kritva na kinchidapi chintaye. So this is how you avoid or get over this mind which is being distracted by varieties of thoughts. Yato yato nischarati manaschanchalamastiram tatastato niyam yaitat atmanyeva vasham nayet. So manaha chanchalam asthiram. So asthiram chanchalam manaha. This is the manaha. Mind is asthiram. Mind keeps moving. In fact, there is a definition of mind. So thoughts moving from one to the other is what is called as is the mind. So that is its nature. This is yataha yataha nischarati. As it keeps on wandering, he says tataha tataha niyamya atmani. So you bring it back to oneself, okay, to the focus of attention. The focus of attention can be Bhagavan, or the focus of attention can be the essential self, which is myself, consciousness, in the form of awareness, as the observer. Okay. This is what is called as dhyana. We'll stop at this point and we'll just see the concluding things next time, where he talks about a little bit about the phalam, the result, and also some of the pratibandhakas, some of the obstacles that are there during the process of meditation. So we'll see that next time. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om.